Buddhist meditation isn't just about becoming happier. Becoming happier, becoming more fulfilled is, of course, fantastic. Becoming more creative, becoming, more emotionally positive, kinder. All of that's fantastic, but it's only the foundation. It's only the foundation. Buddhism is saying that potentially we're Buddhas. We're potentially enlightened beings. That enlightenment is our, in a way, true inheritance. And that's what Buddhist meditation is orientating to. When I came along first, I kind of thought, you had to meditate for decades before you could even talk about enlightenment. But actually, you can start to glimpse something of what the nature of enlightenment is, even today, even on this challenge in week 4. So in this week, we're particularly going to be looking at, what is the nature of enlightened consciousness? Enlightened consciousness is often talked about in terms of 3 qualities. It's talked about in terms of wisdom, compassion, and energy. There are other qualities, of course, of the enlightened mind, but we're going to particularly be this week focusing on the wisdom perspective, because, enlightenment is saying, as it were, that we don't understand, we do not see things as they are, that we've got things very wrong, that we're not just not wise, we're completely deluded. Buddhism starts from the premise that it's not that we're sinful. Buddhism doesn't have a kind of notion of sin, but we are ignorant. We're very, very deluded. And we're not just deluded in a small way about, that we don't understand quantum physics or something. It's not that sort of delusion. It's that we're deluded about the very nature of life, of our experience, of who we are, what the world is, at a very, very deep level, pre-conscious. It's like we're deluded at an instinctive level. We do not know what is going on at all. What's worse is that we think we do know what's going on. And that compounds the delusion, that compounds the ignorance. And because we think we know what's going on, when really we have no idea, because of that, we cause ourselves so much unnecessary suffering. And of course, the world, so much of the suffering in the world is unnecessary. You could say that, the pandemic is causing lots of suffering, and even an enlightened being could get COVID. So at some level, physical suffering isn't going to disappear if you become enlightened, but much of the suffering in the world is human-made. Anyway, I don't need to go on about all the suffering in the world. What I do need to try and communicate is that there's a possibility of a new type of consciousness that is said to transcend all mind-made suffering. It's said to be beyond any kind of sense of unsatisfactoriness. It's said to be completely fulfilled unto itself. And what's more, it radiates love. Now, how does it do that? Well, how do you get there? What Buddhism teaches is that we've got to go beyond this delusion. We've got to see through this ignorance. and that's what Buddhism means by wisdom. So it's not being clever. It's not about being intelligent in any academic sense. It's about waking up to who we really are and what's going on. So in order to become wise, in order to even get a glimpse of wisdom, we have to work from seeing the ignorance, seeing the delusion. So the problem is that we don't understand that we are living in a deeply interconnected world. It's deeply interconnected. It's so interconnected that there are no separate things. Actually, nothing is separate. There's no static, separate entities. But we, in our deluded consciousness, think that we're a static entity, that we're a fixed, separate thing in a world of separate things. And that delusion keeps our consciousness small. It has enormous consequences. It's not just a nice idea, or even a not nice idea. It's not an idea at all. It has enormous consequences for the nature of our experience, for the nature of consciousness itself. All the greed, all the hatred, all the pain in the human heart and mind is caused by this delusion. You could say in the world, all the wars, all the awful things that human beings can do to each other are caused by this delusion. And if we didn't have this delusion, we would experience a radiantly clear, blissful mind all the time. All the time. Even if you were suffering from illness, even if there was great loss in your life, it wouldn't be able to shake the radiant bliss. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, Buddhism says, first of all, there are doors that you can knock on in your own experience to wake you up to the true nature of things. There are clues, you could say there are Easter eggs hidden in this experience of being human that wake us up, that could, if you approach them intelligently, wisely, wake you up. It would be like, taking the red pill in the Matrix. It would be a way, there are clues here. And the Buddha said there are three kind of clues. He called them marks. They're called Lakshmanas, marks of conditioned existence. So the first one is that we notice, if you really pay attention to experience, it's always changing. And why is that so important? If you can notice that in a meditative way, not just as an idea, but as a visceral, as a spiritual realization, everything's changing. Everything's changing. The implications of that are earth-shattering, because it means that there's no fixed me. When I say me, what do I mean? Do I mean the body? Do I mean my personality? Do I mean my ideas of who I am? My relationships? My job? None of that is actually there's no ground there. It's always just a shifting pattern. All that we are is a shifting pattern of, you could say, of energy that's momentarily coming into focus. But isn't really separate from all the other shifting patterns that there are all around us in this, what we call universe, this phenomenal existence. So if you can realize the radical changing nature of everything, that's a doorway into waking up, into enlightenment. So this week, for example, when you do the mindfulness of breathing, see if you can let go of any ideas of in-breath or out-breath, but just stay with the raw sensations of experience and notice that it's always changing. I mean, even that feels too bland a statement, that there is no moment that you can say is unchanging. So notice that with the experience of the sensations of breathing or elsewhere in the body, that there is only change. Let that sort of, let that into your experience. You can also notice, if you want to, the second mark of existence in your experience, which is unsatisfactoriness. unsatisfactoriness. The Buddha said that all of our unsatisfactoriness in life is because we don't see things as they are, and we're clinging to trying to keep things static and fixed. We're clinging, for example, to a sense of me. So in meditation this week, notice when there's clinging. So clinging for me in meditation, it's not just me, happens, first of all, you can notice that there's holding on in the body, tensions in the shoulders, in the neck, in the back, in the legs. Where are you holding on? And that is a sort of clinging. Tension is a sort of clinging. Physical tension is clinging. So notice clinging in the body, and also notice, this is unsatisfactory. Clinging is a tightening of experience. If we're clinging in the body, we're going to be tightening in the body, but not just in the body. We'll also be tightening in the heart, in the mind. We won't be experiencing the potential freedom of a heart that is totally unbounded, or a mind or a consciousness that doesn't have boundaries. So clinging in the body isn't just clinging in the body. It's an existential affair. But start by noticing clinging in the body, and then noticing clinging in the heart, and in what we call the mind. So every time I get caught in stories about me and my world, I'm causing myself pain. So notice, am I clinging to stories? Am I clinging to resentments? Am I clinging to blame in some way? Blame, self-blame, or blaming another person for my experience, my life. If I do that, I'm keeping myself small. I'm keeping myself away from this experience that potentially is my birthright. And it's unsatisfactory, it's painful. I mean, most of the time what we do, and I do this, is that rather than sit with the noticing and the clinging, what I do is I distract myself. So I watch Netflix, or recently I've been watching The Tourist on BBC iPlayer. It's gripping, it's wonderful, it's great, but it does not lead to enlightenment. So notice in meditation, where am I holding on, physically but also emotionally holding on, and notice that is unsatisfactory. Yeah, that's the second mark. And the third mark, I'm going to just give you a wee glimpse of the ideas behind the third mark, which is insubstantiality. It's the truth that nothing has any essence to it. So when we cling, we think we're clinging to something real. But if you look really closely, you find that there's nothing to cling to. Ideas, for example, we hold on to ideas, don't we? We cling to, political ideas. We might, some of them might be sort of worthy ideas of justice or equality, or how to make the world a better place. But when you look closely, all ideas are just transient thoughts in the mind. I mean, they're superstructures of thoughts in the mind. And thoughts, when you look really closely, there's nothing solid there. They're movements of, you could say, movements of energy. Buddhism doesn't use that word, but I'm just using that word. They're movements of, they're temporary arisings of phenomena. But if you look closely, they disappear again. There's nothing there. So we're not our ideas, because ideas aren't real. Ideas are constructed. But then the same goes for our body. We're not our physical experience. Our body is always in flux. So who are we then? If we're not the body and we're not the mind, our thoughts or our emotions, which are also in flux, what are we? and who do I, I do have a sense of me, and I'm jealously trying to protect it. But what am I protecting? So wisdom practice is about daring to really look at experience, daring to question our most cherished assumptions. And when you find that there's no one or nothing fixed to hold on to, daring to let go. And in that letting go is bliss, potentially freedom, bliss. All the love that we've been yearning for all our lives and looking for in external either people or things, all of that's actually available to us when we let go of clinging to what we think we know. Something new opens up, a new dimension opens up, and even glimpsing that for a moment, you'll never look back. It'll be transformative. So that's what week 4 is potentially offering you. It's the most priceless thing, priceless gift that you can be given, a glimpse of your true nature. So I really wish you well with this week, and see you on the other side. Thank you.